Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Shantae. In the last part, we started on Zombie Caravan here, at least that's what I think it's called. And now we got another key. I'm actually heading back a few rooms now to that one where I climbed up the wall with the monkey at the very end of the last part. Because time saving is a thing I like to do. Because I'd rather have this part be 1929 than 1945. Yeah. Now this is a room that, for some reason, I hated my first playthrough. Mind you, this is playthrough number 2 or so, so it doesn't really say much. I started this off blind, but I really did complete the game off screen just to make sure I knew what I was doing. Because these later dungeons do get pretty complicated. I hate these launchers, by the way. They're fairly simple, but you just have to jump at them and press the direction you want, and you will eventually fall out, which is something you don't want to happen, but they still get pretty damn annoying. And it's really weird, too, because in the later games, they look a lot more organic. And here we have another one of these little ice blocks that we have to break open and kill the enemy that's inside of. Oh, come on. Eh. If I didn't mention before, the way you do the Tinkerbat's charge attack is by pressing, holding down and pressing the attack button. And you succubi need to go burn in hell. Then again, succubi should always just do that in video games. Aside from maybe the one from Symphony of the Night, because she is at least a very easy boss. Then again, overall, Symphony of the Night is just a very easy Castlevania game. And if we want to go in here for a fairly obvious reason, we got another key in here we want. Now, these are extremely easy puzzles. Then again, it's a Game Boy Color game, it was probably more directed towards kids, so I can't be terribly surprised, but still. Then again, I say that, but Majora's Mask is is from the Zelda series, obviously, which is one that's generally considered one for kids, and look how dark that one is. By the way, the 3DS version's great. Yeah, I just got it about 3 hours ago. I was really pissed off, because I pre-ordered that game, and I pre-ordered the Collector's Edition from GameStop. But apparently the guy entered it wrong and gave me and said I thought I pre-ordered the Monster Hunter 4 Collector's Edition, which I have no interest in. So now I'm out of a Collector's Edition because of some guy's stupid screw-up. Oh well. Can't win them all. Like the first time GameStop's really screwed up on me too, which is weird considering I have heard a lot of bad things about them from older friends of mine from school. Well, I say older friends, but they've all graduated by now. I hate this room. On the account of spikes. In fact, that's one thing I can say about games in general for me. A lot of people have some sort of phobia in video games, one thing or another. Some people it's water phobia, some people it's crusher phobia. For me, it's spike phobia, because I play so much Mega Man that I'm like, no, 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 no. Whenever I see the damn things. Whenever I'm in a water level, I'm usually like, yay, water level, because, well, Mega Man's water levels are actually some of the more fun ones. Anyway, this is a very special place right here. Why? Well, we'll find out in a moment. Genie time! Which means, if it's par for the course at least, we're about to get our final transformation dance. Which is honestly probably my least favorite out of all of them. Not that it's useless, no, it does have a good amount of use, because we're going to be using it for much of the rest of the game, but I just don't like it for personal reasons. We get the Harpy dance. To activate this one, press down and B in time with the beat. I hate the Harpy. The way the Harpy works is that you press A to jump and then continue pressing it in time, well, not in tune, rapidly, really, in order to fly. However, it has one nasty case of inertia. As in, even when you're flying, well, it's understandable when you're flying, but even when you're on the ground, she takes a while to pick up speed, and it takes a while to put down the speed. And it's just a real pain in the ass to control at times. Though I will give it this, it is very well animated, as is everything else in the game, really. Anyway, gonna want to transform back into Shantae normal here, because there is a Warp Squid for us here. And, as we now have the final transformation, you can probably tell that we're gonna actually get all of the freaking Warp Squids in this place now. Though, feasibly, I think in a Cackle Mound, there is a way you can get the final one if you trick it out just right, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And I think this is the final key puzzle. Let me see. Let me look at the timeline. Yeah, it should be. I think. I hope it is. And key get. It's at this point I'm actually going to cut back to that room I was in earlier. You would recognize this. It's the shaft room we were in a bit earlier. Where we got the Harpy transformation, actually. And now I'm actually flying to the top of this to get this Warp Squid, and I'm actually going to now leave the room completely. By the way, I'm going to refer to this room I'm in right now as the Twisted Shaft, because the boss fight is actually in this room, or at least the way to the boss is in this room. But there's a couple other things I need first. First off, back in this room, which you should hopefully recognize by now, there are 2 1-ups I want to get while I'm here. Mostly because you can never have enough lives in any game, really. Aside Sonic 4 Episode 1, where I have like 350 by the time I max out my 7 Chaos Emeralds. Because I really suck at those special stages. I should get back to the Sonic series, it's been a while. Oh boy. Oh, really? Really? Nah. Game Boy Color programming. Anyway, now I'm backtracking because there's some things I can get in some earlier rooms now that I have the Harpy. Namely, we can now fly up this and actually enter one. If I recall correctly, is actually the second room in the dungeon, maybe the third. Either way, I was here with the Tinkerbat last part because I can get another Warp Squid in here, namely the one that we saw in another room. That one. Press the button, Kyle. Thank you. And now we actually want to fly up this shaft, which you may have actually noticed earlier, but we can only get up here now that we have the Harpy. And head right for the final ice block room. I guess that means there is one more puzzle room. Come on. Oh, really? There are times in this game where I get jumped up on which dance I want to do just because of habit. Especially early game where I find myself trying to do the monkey when I should really be using the elephant. Oh, come on, use the jump. There we go. Ah, really? No. Ah. Thank you for dying. And if that 6 Warp Squids on the menu screen isn't enough to tell us, we actually have all the Warp Squids from this place. And, well, that was quick and easy. Key get. And it's now I think I'm going to be cutting back to the Twisted Shaft room because I have everything else. Yep. So now we're going to head after the boss fight. Now, this is actually surprisingly one of the easier bosses, but I'll get to that in a second. This looks like the place. There's the Twinkle Stone, but no sign of Risky Boots. Did she give up after losing the first 3 stones to me? Uh-oh. No time for questions now. The Dragon Rider here is one of the easiest bosses in the game. I find him even easier than Fantoon, honestly. Though not as easy as the gigantic rock golem from the golem mine. What you have to do for him is, as the Harpy, jump on his head 3 times, he'll fall to the ground, and you just whip him enough with your hair. Very, very easy. Though, honestly, it is probably in your best interest to do the little kick flips, because then you can do 2 damage at once. I think that's what the kick flips do. I think they do, too. I'm not sure the exact damage values if you can't quite tell. Though most enemies do half heart to 1 heart damage. Not many do more than 1 heart, if any, really. Later games would actually have a much more Zelda-like health system entirely, where instead of just having half hearts, you actually do have 1/4 of a hearts and such. Very much Ocarina of Time onwards, honestly. Because right now the health system's a lot more like Zelda 1. Honestly, for a final boss of a for the final boss of the final dungeon, not final dungeon, he's disappointingly easy. Really cool looking design, though. Wait, I just realized I made a stealth pun. Cool, we're in a nice area. Damn it! Anyway, he becomes a rider after that. Just hit him once with your hair, and you win. And get some explosions for some reason. Okay. And Twinklestone is ours. Hi again. I found the Twinkle... Huh? We all saw this coming. What the... You're taking my stones, man! Ha! That ought to shut you up. Thanks for being a perfect little stooge. Now that you've collected all 4 stones for me, my Tinkerbats can complete their steam-powered project. Stop by for the grand unveiling. It's sure to be a smash from coast to coast. Free! But now what'll I do? Risky has all 4 stones. There must be some way to find her hideout and end this insanity once and for all. Mimic will know what to do. I better head back to Scuttletown. Now, we could do that, or we could go and 100% the game aside from the final area right now. Because now that we have the Harpy, the rest of the world is now entirely open for us. First off, as you just saw there, Firefly right there. And if we fly to the top left of us from now, or northwest of us, we can find our next heart holder, which means we now have our next heart container, essentially. Now, one thing I actually want to mention about this game's overworld is that it's actually really well designed. Because there is no technical east and west, by the way. I'm putting all the Warp Squids from that place in Bandit Town. The overworld of this entire game is actually interconnected. If you go east enough, you'll actually end back at Mount Pointy. It's all you can see it very easily in the concept art of the world, but it's all just a gigantic circle, which I actually really like that design philosophy. And we now have the Bandit Town, so now we're actually back in the Mudbog area. East of it, because we can get a couple things here. First off, if you fly to the top of the screen with the Harpy, you'll eventually find these little mushroom tree things, as seen right here. On the second one, there's a really broken item by the name of the Spider Venoms. Now if you press the B button when you're a spider, she'll shoot projectiles. And on the very east of the Mudbog, if you fly up and left a little bit, we can find our next Firefly. And I was actually incorrect about something. Fireflies are not required for the game to be beaten, but they're pretty good if you want the most broken ability in the game. Next up, in the Men's Desert west of Naga Wasteland, fly up and to the left for a heart holder. After that, back in the Golem Mine, near the boss room, there's the final Warp Squid of this area. Next up, back in Scarecrow Fields, if you fly northeast of the first pit, you'll eventually find a floating column which has the Harpy Talon, which allows us to do an attack in Harpy form, which is a very non-range attack. Next up, about halfway through Spider Forest, if you fly up here, you can get a heart holder. You can actually use the spider to get up here earlier, but I forgot about it until now. Next up in Cackle Mound, the third dungeon, in the gigantic ramp room, fly up and to the right of the first ramp to get this place's final Warp Squid. And now on the very right of the zombie swamp, we're actually going to head into the eastern side of Ghost Forest. If we fly directly off when it's nighttime, we can find Firefly number 11. Man, if there were 11 seasons of Firefly, I'm pretty sure fans would be tired of it by that point, honestly. And now I'm gonna slowly fly over the entire place. Don't! I forget, have we actually been in this area before? I don't recall. Either way. There's a couple more things we want to do in this area. First off, let's see, what are we doing first? I'm trying to recall off the top of my head. Healing, apparently. No, actually, now we're in the new area. Welcome to Archer Forest. This is a very simple area, honestly. The only enemies of worth are the archers, who even then can miss you very easily. It's worth noting, though, Zombie Town, or the Zombie Caravan, randomly moves around at night. However, I don't think it's scripted to start appearing until you destroy this upcoming tree stump right here. I don't think it'll start appearing until after you destroy this. At which point it'll be, I think, between any two areas at night. It took me around an hour to find the Zombie Caravan, though, because I wanted to put those Warp Squids in. And this tree stump actually holds the final, item use. Twin mints double your attack power, but they don't just do that, they also make two Shantaes appear. And if you talk to this guy, you find out that he really likes watching girls dance. So if you complete any dance at all in front of him, he flies into the sky and gets impaled on spikes. Huh, that's morbid. But it also gets us our final heart holder, so now we're maxed out in health. So that's dandy. I don't know what I was trying to dance to there, maybe just because I thought I was going to teleport out, but nah. And that's actually one thing about this game as well. I always forget where which warp dance goes to where for some reason, aside from Scuttletown. But again, the warp dances are just kind of unnecessarily long. The transformation dances I'm fine with, because they're all pretty much two inputs aside from the Tinkerbat, but otherwise, ugh. And coming up here, we got Firefly number 12, so we're now 100% on pretty much everything. Aside from two things. Well, three things if you count the end of the game. But first off, you head east from Archer Forest, we find ourselves once again back at Mount Pointy, west of the 4th dungeon. And now I finally found the Zombie Caravan again. That took a while. Now, as for why you want to put the Warp Squids in here, there's no real reward for putting them all in their places. However, the shop here does sell items at a slightly discounted rate, so it's, I suppose, worth it for that. And now we're getting the final warp dance. Also, you can do the race with Roddy Tops here again if you want to for gems. And now we're heading for the final thing for completion, back in Watertown. You may have noticed this Firefly shrine here. Once you have all Fireflies, come in here. It's now lit up. If you came here earlier, it was dark, and you can learn the final dance in the game. I have always just called this the heart dance, down up A. What this does is that for every empty heart you have when you use it, it'll cost 10 gems and it'll fill them up. Like now I have 3 empty hearts entirely, or technically 4. I now have 40 less gems, but I also have all those hearts filled up. So that's actually pretty good. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 8, we're finishing off the game, ladies and gentlemen. See you guys then.